The Art of Living Organized, a Simple System for a Calm, Productive Life. Published by Timeless Audiobook. Introduction. A calm, productive life is rarely the result of doing more. It is the result of living with order. When your days have structure, your mind finds peace. When your systems are simple, your energy stops leaking into stress, confusion, and constant catch-up. Organization at its best is not about control or perfection. It is about creating space to breathe, think clearly, and live deliberately. This audiobook is built on a simple truth. Disorder quietly steals time, focus, and confidence, while order gently gives them back. When your life feels scattered, even small tasks feel heavy. When your life is organized, progress feels natural. The goal is not to turn you into a rigid planner, but to help you build a way of living that supports who you want to become. In this audiobook, we will explore how to replace chaos with clarity, how to create systems that work even on low-energy days, and how to design your environment, habits, and decisions so they support calm instead of stress. You will learn how to organize your time without pressure, your space without obsession, your commitments without guilt, and your mind without overwhelm. Each chapter is meant to guide you gently but firmly, like a mentor showing you how to simplify without sacrificing ambition. This is not a quick fix or a one-week transformation. It is a practical philosophy for living well, one that respects your limits while strengthening your discipline. You don't need more motivation to feel organized. You need fewer decisions, clearer priorities, and reliable systems that carry you forward. As you listen, allow yourself to slow down. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply ready for a better structure, one that brings consistency, confidence, and calm into your daily life. Organization is not something you do once. It is something you live. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop managing chaos. Start designing your life. Living in constant reaction slowly drains your strength. When every day feels like putting out fires, answering messages, rushing through tasks, and catching up on what you didn't finish yesterday, life begins to feel heavy. Not because you are lazy or incapable, but because chaos demands energy without giving direction. Managing chaos may keep things from falling apart, but it will never move your life forward. There is a quiet difference between coping and designing. Coping says, "Let me survive today." Designing says, "Let me decide how today should look." One keeps you busy, the other makes you intentional. When you wake up without a plan, the world plans for you. Other people's priorities, interruptions, and urgencies take control. You may feel productive, yet at the end of the day, you wonder why nothing meaningful moved forward. Designing your life does not require complexity. It begins with a simple shift in how you think. Instead of asking, "What do I need to deal with today?" you start asking, "What kind of day am I trying to create?" That question alone changes your posture. It moves you from reaction to direction. It reminds you that your time, energy, and attention are valuable resources, not endless supplies. Chaos thrives where clarity is missing. When goals are vague, when priorities are unclear, when everything feels equally important, disorder takes over naturally. You don't need to invite chaos in. It arrives on its own. Designing your life means deciding, ahead of time, what deserves your best effort and what does not. It means choosing a few meaningful targets instead of chasing everything that demands attention. This is where many people get stuck. They believe organization is about tighter schedules, more discipline, or pushing harder. In reality, organization is about removing unnecessary friction. It's about setting up your life so fewer decisions drain you throughout the day. When your life has structure, your mind can relax. When your days have shape, your energy stops leaking into confusion.
Designing your life also means accepting responsibility without self-blame. If your days feel scattered, it doesn't mean you've failed. It simply means the current design is not serving you, and designs can be changed, slowly, calmly, intentionally. You don't rebuild everything at once. You adjust one part, then another, until life starts to feel lighter. Think of order as a quiet guide. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush you, it simply points you in the right direction again and again. When your systems are clear, you don't rely on motivation to move forward. You rely on structure, and structure, when built well, supports you even on tired days. Designing your life is an act of self-respect. It says your time matters, your peace matters, your future matters. You are no longer just responding to what happens, you are shaping what comes next. That shift may feel subtle at first, but over time it changes everything. You don't need to eliminate chaos completely. Life will always bring surprises. What you need is a foundation strong enough to absorb them. When your life is designed with intention, chaos becomes an interruption, not a permanent state. And from that place, calm, progress, and confidence begin to grow naturally. Chapter 2. Get clear on what matters before you try to control anything. Control without clarity creates tension. You may feel busy, structured, even disciplined, yet still sense that something is off. That feeling usually comes from trying to organize life before understanding what truly deserves your attention. When clarity is missing, effort multiplies, but results shrink. You push harder, plan more, and still feel unsatisfied. Not because you're doing too little, but because you're doing too much of the wrong things. Clarity is not about knowing everything. It's about knowing enough to move in the right direction. Without it, every task feels urgent. Every request feels important. Every distraction feels justified. And slowly, your time gets scattered across dozens of small demands that never add up to meaningful progress. Life becomes crowded, not purposeful. Before you try to control your schedule, your habits, or your environment, you must decide what actually matters, not what sounds impressive, not what other people expect, not what feels urgent in the moment. What matters is what deserves consistent attention because it moves your life forward in a way that feels aligned. Until that is clear, organization will feel like pressure instead of support. Many people confuse clarity with perfection. They wait until they feel completely certain before deciding. That wait can last years. Clarity does not arrive all at once. It sharpens through honest reflection. It comes from asking simple but uncomfortable questions. What do I want this season of my life to be about? What am I protecting my time for? What am I willing to say no to in order to say yes to something deeper? Once you gain even a small amount of clarity, everything changes. Decisions become lighter. Distractions lose power. You stop reacting to everything because you finally have a reference point. When something shows up, you can quietly ask, does this serve what matters right now? If the answer is no, letting go becomes easier. Not effortless, but easier. Trying to control life without clarity often leads to rigidity. You follow rules that don't serve you. You maintain systems that drain you. You feel guilty when you break routines that were never meaningful to begin with. Clarity softens control. It replaces force with direction. You don't need to micromanage your day when you know what the day is meant to support. This is also where overwhelm begins to fade. Overwhelm is rarely about too much work. It's about unclear priorities. When everything feels equally important, your mind stays tense. When a few things are clearly important, your mind can relax. You may still be busy, but you're no longer scattered. There is a calm confidence that comes from knowing why you are doing what you're doing. Clarity also protects your energy. Every unclear commitment costs mental space. Every vague goal creates background stress. When you define what matters, you give yourself permission to simplify. You don't need to optimize every area of life at once. You organize in layers, guided by importance, not urgency. This chapter is not asking you to map out your entire future. It's inviting you to choose direction over drift, to replace mental noise with quiet focus, to understand that control is a tool, not a goal. The goal is alignment. The goal is living in a way that feels intentional, even when life gets busy. When clarity leads, organization follows naturally. You stop chasing balance and start building order that fits your real life. You don't need to control everything, only what truly matters. And once that becomes clear, calm begins to feel possible again. Chapter 3. Build simple systems that work without motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes without warning, rises when things feel exciting, and disappears when life becomes heavy or repetitive. If your progress depends on feeling motivated, consistency will always be fragile. Some days you will move forward, and on others you will stall. This is not a personal flaw, it is human nature. That is why lasting organization is never built on emotion. It is built on systems. A system is simply a way of doing things that removes the need to decide again and again. It tells you what to do next without requiring inspiration. When systems are clear, action becomes automatic. When they are missing, even simple tasks feel draining. You hesitate, delay, and negotiate with yourself. Not because the task is hard, but because the path is unclear. Many people believe systems are rigid or restrictive. In truth, good systems create freedom. They reduce mental clutter. They conserve energy. They allow you to show up even on tired days. When your life relies on motivation, everything feels heavy. When your life relies on systems, momentum becomes quiet and steady. Think about how much energy you waste deciding small things, when to start, where to put something, what to do next. These tiny decisions add up. A well-designed system removes them. It gives each action a place. You don't think about brushing your teeth. You just do it. That is the power of a system working in the background. The best systems are simple. They are not complicated routines or long checklists. They are small structures that fit your real life. A place for your important items. A consistent time for certain tasks. A clear rule for handling information or commitments. Simplicity makes systems sustainable. Complexity makes them fragile. Another strength of systems is that they protect you from your moods. You don't need to feel focused to follow a routine. You don't need to feel inspired to stick to a process. The system carries you when your energy dips. This is especially important during stressful seasons, when motivation is the first thing to disappear. Building systems also shifts how you see discipline. Discipline is no longer about forcing yourself to act. It becomes about designing your life, so action is the default. You stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" and start saying, "This is just what I do." Over time, that identity becomes powerful. You become someone who follows through naturally. It's important to remember that systems are not meant to be perfect. They are meant to be reliable. If a system works most of the time, it is doing its job. You can adjust it as life changes. You can simplify it when it feels heavy. The goal is progress, not rigidity. When motivation fades, systems remain. They quietly support you, day after day, without drama. They turn effort into habit, and habit into identity. And once your life is guided by simple systems, organization stops feeling like work. It becomes a calm structure that holds everything together, even when life feels unpredictable. Chapter 4. Organize your mind before you organize your space. A cluttered mind creates a cluttered life. Even if your desk is clean and your schedule looks organized, mental overload can quietly drain your energy. Thoughts pile up, unfinished decisions linger, worries replay in the background, and without realizing it, you carry all of it with you throughout the day. This invisible clutter is often more exhausting than physical mess, because it never gives you a clear place to rest. Your mind was never designed to store everything. It was designed to think, decide, and create. When you try to hold every task, idea, and responsibility in your head, mental fatigue becomes normal. You may feel distracted, forgetful, or restless, not because something is wrong with you, but because your mind is overloaded. Organization begins when you stop treating your mind like a storage unit. One of the most powerful steps toward mental order is learning to capture thoughts instead of carrying them. When ideas, reminders, or concerns appear, they need a place to go. Writing them down immediately frees your mind. It tells your brain that nothing important will be lost. Over time, this simple habit creates trust between you and your thoughts. You stop clinging to them, and mental space opens up. Unfinished tasks are another major source of mental clutter. When something is started but not clearly completed, it stays active in your mind. It pulls at your attention in small, draining ways. Organizing your mind means deciding what each task is and what the next step should be. Not finishing everything at once, but clarifying what comes next. Clarity calms the mind. Mental organization also requires limits. When you consume too much information, your mind becomes noisy. Constant updates, messages, and inputs fragment your focus. You begin reacting instead of thinking. Creating mental order means choosing when and how you allow information in. It means giving your mind periods of quiet so it can reset and sharpen. Another overlooked source of mental clutter is decision avoidance. When you postpone decisions, they linger as background tension. Even small choices can quietly drain energy when left unresolved. Organizing your mind means making simple decisions quickly and letting go. Not every decision needs deep analysis. Many only need closure. As mental order improves, physical organization becomes easier. You begin to see clearly. You know what belongs where. You notice what no longer serves you. When the mind is calm, the space around you follows naturally. This is why organizing your environment without addressing mental clutter often fails. The chaos simply returns in a different form. Mental organization is not about emptying your mind completely. It's about creating flow. Thoughts come in, get processed, and move on. Nothing gets stuck. Nothing piles up. Over time, this creates a sense of lightness and control that feels grounding. When your mind is organized, you move through the day with more presence. You listen better. You work more smoothly. You rest more deeply. And from that place of inner order, organizing your space becomes a natural extension, not a constant struggle. Chapter 5. Create an environment that supports your best self. Your environment is always influencing you, whether you notice it or not. The spaces you live and work in quietly shape your behavior, your mood, and even your expectations of yourself. When your surroundings are chaotic, your mind has to work harder to stay focused and calm. When your surroundings are supportive, progress feels lighter. You don't have to force good behavior when your environment is already guiding you in the right direction. Many people try to change themselves without changing their surroundings. They rely on willpower, discipline, and constant self-control. That approach rarely lasts. Willpower fades, but environment stays. The moment you design your space with intention, you reduce the amount of effort required to do the right things. Your environment becomes a silent partner, helping you move forward without constant struggle. Start by noticing what your space encourages. Does it invite focus or distraction? Does it support rest or restlessness? Every object sends a message. A cluttered desk tells your mind that work is unfinished. A clear space signals readiness and calm. This is not about creating a perfect or aesthetic environment. It's about creating one that aligns with how you want to live. A supportive environment makes good choices obvious and bad choices inconvenient. When healthy habits are easy to access, you're more likely to follow them. When distractions require extra effort, they slowly lose power. This is not manipulation. It is intelligent design. You are shaping your surroundings to match your intentions instead of fighting against them. Order in your environment also creates emotional stability. When everything has a place, you stop wasting energy, searching, deciding, and reacting. You feel more in control, not because life is predictable, but because your space is. That sense of order spills into other areas. Your thinking becomes clearer, your movements become calmer, your days feel less rushed. This does not mean you need to organize everything at once. Begin with the spaces you use the most. A workspace that supports focus, a sleeping area that encourages rest, a small zone where you can think without interruption. Improving one area creates momentum. It shows you what is possible when environment and intention align. Your environment should also reflect who you are becoming, not just who you have been. Let go of items that belong to an old version of yourself. Keep what supports your current goals and values. This act of choosing is powerful. It signals commitment. It reminds you daily of the direction you are moving in. Designing your environment is an act of self-respect. It says that your peace matters, your focus matters, and your future matters. You are no longer asking your mind to fight constant noise. You are giving it space to operate at its best. When your environment supports you, discipline feels lighter, motivation becomes less important. You move through your day with fewer obstacles and more ease, and slowly, without force, your surroundings begin to reinforce the best version of you, every single day. Chapter 6. Master your time by respecting your energy. Time management often fails because it ignores one simple truth. Time is constant, but energy is not. You can plan every hour of your day and still feel exhausted, unfocused, and behind. That happens when you treat all hours as equal. They are not. Your ability to think, create, decide, and focus rises and falls throughout the day. When you respect that rhythm, productivity becomes calmer and more effective. Many people try to control time by squeezing more tasks into fewer hours. They rush, multitask, and push through fatigue. In the short term, this may look productive. Over time, it creates burnout. You end the day tired but unsatisfied, wondering where your energy went. The problem was never the number of tasks. It was the misuse of energy. Every day contains natural peaks and dips. There are moments when your mind is sharp and moments when it feels heavy. High-energy periods are best used for thinking, planning, problem-solving, and creative work. Low-energy periods are better for routine tasks, organization, or rest. When you match tasks to energy, work flows. When you ignore energy, everything feels harder than it needs to be. Respecting your energy also means accepting your limits without guilt. You are not designed to operate at full intensity all day. Rest is not a reward, it is a requirement. Short breaks, pauses, and moments of stillness are not wasted time. They are what allow you to show up fully when it matters most. One of the most powerful ways to master time is to slow down your transitions. Rushing from one task to another fragments attention. Your mind lags behind your body. When you create small buffers between activities, you give your mind time to reset. This simple practice reduces mental fatigue and increases focus. Energy is also affected by what you allow into your day. Constant notifications, interruptions, and reactive tasks drain focus quickly. Protecting your energy means protecting your attention. You don't need to respond to everything immediately. Delaying responses is not neglect, it is control. When you choose when to engage, your energy lasts longer. Another key aspect of energy respect is ending the day properly. A chaotic ending creates a heavy beginning. When you close your day with clarity, your mind can rest. Even a few minutes spent reviewing, organizing, or preparing for tomorrow can dramatically improve how you feel in the morning. You wake up with direction instead of pressure. Mastering time through energy is not about doing less, it's about doing what matters at the right moment. You may still work hard, but it feels sustainable. You move with your natural rhythm instead of fighting it. Over time, this approach builds trust in yourself. You know when to push and when to pause. When you respect your energy, time stops feeling like an enemy. It becomes a container you move through with intention. Your days feel fuller, not because they are crowded, but because they are aligned. And from that alignment comes calm, clarity, and steady progress that lasts. Chapter 7. Create daily order through small, reliable habits. Daily order is not built through dramatic changes. It is built through small, repeated actions that quietly shape your life. What you do once feels optional. What you do every day becomes identity. When your days have a simple structure, your mind feels safer, calmer, and more focused. You don't wake up wondering how the day will unfold. You step into a rhythm that supports you. Many people underestimate the power of small habits because they don't feel impressive. They want routines that transform everything at once. But lasting order comes from reliability, not intensity. A habit that is easy to maintain is far more valuable than one that looks powerful but rarely happens. Consistency creates trust, and trust creates calm. Daily habits act like anchors. They hold your day steady when life becomes unpredictable. A simple morning routine can center you before distractions arrive. A short evening reset can clear mental clutter before rest. These moments don't need to be long. They need to be dependable. When you know certain things will happen every day, your nervous system relaxes. Small habits also reduce decision fatigue. When part of your day runs on autopilot, your mind is free for more meaningful work. You stop negotiating with yourself. You don't ask whether you should do something, you simply do it because it's part of your day. This removes friction and builds momentum without effort. The key to reliable habits is making them realistic. Habits should fit your energy, your schedule, and your personality. When habits demand too much, they collapse under pressure. When they are simple, they survive busy days. It's better to do a little every day than a lot once in a while. Order grows quietly through repetition. Daily order also creates emotional stability. When life feels uncertain, routines provide grounding. They remind you that some things are within your control. Even on difficult days, following a small routine restores a sense of normalcy. This is why habits are not just practical. They are psychological support. Over time, small habits compound. A few minutes of organization each day prevent large messes later. A brief planning moment keeps priorities clear. A consistent wind-down routine improves rest. These benefits add up slowly. Then suddenly, one day you realize life feels smoother, not because you tried harder, but because your habits carried you. Creating daily order is not about rigidity. It's about rhythm. Life will interrupt routines, and that's okay. What matters is returning without guilt. Habits are tools, not rules. They exist to support you, not control you. Flexibility keeps them alive. When your days are guided by small, reliable habits, organization stops feeling like a task. It becomes part of who you are. Calm is no longer something you chase. It's something you practice daily. And through that practice, your life begins to feel steady, intentional, and quietly powerful. Chapter 8. Decide faster, simplify choices, and move forward. Many people feel overwhelmed, not because they have too much to do, but because they have too many decisions waiting for them. Every unfinished choice sits in the background of the mind, quietly draining energy. The longer a decision remains unresolved, the heavier it feels. Organization begins to break down when decisions pile up faster than they are made. Indecision often disguises itself as careful thinking. You tell yourself you need more information, more time, or better conditions. In reality, most everyday decisions do not require perfection. They require movement. When you delay small choices, you create mental clutter that slows everything else down. Progress stalls not because of a lack of ability, but because momentum is blocked. Simplifying choices is one of the most effective ways to restore order. When you reduce options, you reduce stress. Clear standards make decisions easier. Instead of asking, "What is the best possible choice?" you ask, "Is this good enough and aligned with what matters?" That shift removes pressure and speeds up action. Deciding faster does not mean deciding carelessly. It means recognizing which decisions deserve depth and which deserve speed. High-impact choices require thought. Low-impact choices require closure. Mixing the two leads to exhaustion. When you treat every decision as equally important, your energy drains quickly. Learning to categorize decisions protects your focus. One powerful strategy is to create rules for recurring decisions. When the same choice appears again and again, decide once and let the rule handle it. This removes repetition and frees mental space. You no longer debate, you follow your own standard. Over time, this builds confidence and consistency. Fear often sits beneath indecision. Fear of making the wrong choice. Fear of regret. Fear of missing out. But waiting does not remove risk. It simply replaces active choice with passive drift. Choosing imperfectly and adjusting later is usually safer than staying stuck. Action creates information. Inaction creates anxiety. Moving forward requires letting go of the idea that every decision defines you. Most choices are temporary. You are allowed to change direction. You are allowed to revise. When you see decisions as flexible, they lose their power to intimidate you. Calm returns when movement replaces hesitation. As decisions become lighter, organization strengthens. Tasks flow, plans progress. Your mind feels clearer because fewer loose ends remain. You stop carrying invisible weight. Life begins to feel simpler, not because it is perfect, but because it is moving. Deciding faster is not about rushing, it is about respecting your energy. Every unresolved choice steals attention from what truly matters. When you simplify and decide, you reclaim that energy. You move forward with clarity, confidence, and a sense of control that feels grounded and sustainable. Chapter 9. Remove unnecessary commitments and protect your focus. Focus is not something you find, it is something you protect. In a world full of demands, invitations, and expectations, attention becomes your most valuable resource. When your focus is constantly pulled in different directions, progress slows and stress increases. Many people feel overwhelmed, not because they lack ability, but because their energy is scattered across too many commitments. Every commitment you accept takes a piece of your time, attention, and emotional space. Some commitments are meaningful and necessary. Others are habits, obligations, or expectations you never consciously chose. Over time, these unnecessary commitments crowd your schedule and quietly drain your focus. Organization begins when you start choosing more carefully. Removing commitments does not mean becoming selfish or unkind. It means becoming intentional. Saying yes to everything is not generosity. It is self-neglect. When your schedule is full of things that don't align with your priorities, even important work begins to feel heavy. Protecting focus requires courage. The courage to say no, delay, or renegotiate. Focus thrives in simplicity. When fewer things compete for your attention, you can give your best effort to what remains. This is where many people hesitate. They fear disappointing others or missing opportunities. But focus is built through trade-offs. Every yes is also a no to something else. The question is whether you are choosing those trade-offs consciously or letting them happen by default. One effective way to protect focus is to create boundaries around your most valuable time. Identify when your energy is highest and guard those hours. Avoid filling them with reactive tasks or low-value commitments. When you treat your focus as sacred, others begin to respect it as well. Distractions are not always external. Internal distractions, worry, overthinking, and multitasking are often worse. When commitments are unclear, your mind jumps from one concern to another. Removing unnecessary commitments simplifies your mental landscape. Fewer promises mean fewer worries. Clarity replaces tension. Protecting focus also means allowing space for deep work. Shallow tasks feel urgent, but rarely move life forward. Deep work requires uninterrupted attention and intention. It cannot survive in a cluttered schedule. When you create space for depth, progress accelerates and satisfaction increases. Learning to remove commitments is a skill that improves with practice. You don't need to cut everything at once. Start by questioning one obligation. Ask whether it still serves your current goals. Adjust slowly. Each small boundary strengthens your sense of control. When focus is protected, organization becomes natural. Your days feel lighter. Your work feels more meaningful. You stop rushing and start moving with purpose. By removing what doesn't matter, you make room for what truly does. And in that space, calm and clarity return. Chapter 10. Create financial order without stress or obsession. Money is rarely just about numbers. It carries emotion, memory, and meaning. When finances feel disorganized, stress often follows, even if income is sufficient. Unclear money habits create background anxiety that quietly affects decisions, focus, and confidence. Financial order is not about perfection or control, it is about clarity and calm. Many people avoid organizing their finances because it feels overwhelming or uncomfortable. They delay looking, hoping things will somehow improve on their own. But avoidance increases stress. What you avoid grows heavier in your mind. When you bring finances into the open, uncertainty shrinks. Even difficult realities feel easier to face once they are clear. Financial organization begins with simplicity. You don't need complex systems or constant monitoring. You need a basic understanding of where your money comes from, where it goes, and what it is meant to support. Clarity removes fear. When you know your situation, you regain control over choices instead of reacting emotionally. One of the most important shifts is separating needs from noise. Not every desire deserves immediate action. When spending aligns with values, money becomes a tool instead of a source of guilt. Financial order is not about deprivation, it is about direction. You choose where money flows instead of wondering where it went. Creating calm around money also means reducing decision pressure. When rules are clear, choices become easier. You don't debate every expense. You follow principles you've already decided on. This prevents impulsive behavior and builds trust in yourself over time. Obsession is not organization. Constantly checking, worrying, or micromanaging finances creates tension. True financial order feels steady, not anxious. It allows you to engage with money regularly but calmly. When systems are simple, they run quietly in the background. Financial order also supports long-term peace. Even small steps towards stability reduce stress. You don't need to fix everything at once. Progress matters more than speed. Each improvement strengthens confidence and reduces mental load. When finances are organized, life feels lighter. Decisions become clearer. Stress decreases. You move forward with intention instead of worry. Money stops dominating your thoughts and starts supporting your goals. And that calm foundation strengthens every other area of your life. Chapter 11. Create healthier relationships through clear boundaries. Relationships become draining when boundaries are unclear. Tension builds not because people are difficult, but because expectations are undefined. When you feel exhausted after interactions, it is often a sign that emotional order is missing. Organization is not limited to time and space. It also applies to how you relate to others. Boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that protect energy, time, and respect. Without them, relationships become confusing. You may overgive, over-explain, or feel responsible for emotions that are not yours to carry. Clear boundaries create clarity, not distance. They allow relationships to function with honesty and balance. Many people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear conflict or rejection. They want to be helpful, kind, and accommodating. But avoiding boundaries often leads to resentment. When you say yes while feeling no, tension grows quietly. Over time, this damages trust, both with others and with yourself. Healthy boundaries begin with self-awareness. You must know what drains you and what supports you. You must recognize when your time, energy, or values are being compromised. This awareness allows you to respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. Boundaries are strongest when they are communicated clearly and respectfully. Boundaries also simplify relationships. When expectations are clear, misunderstandings decrease. You no longer guess how much to give or when to step back. Others know where you stand. This creates stability and mutual respect. Order replaces emotional chaos. It is important to understand that boundaries do not control others. They define you. You are not responsible for how people react to your boundaries. You are responsible for honoring your own limits. When boundaries are consistent, relationships adjust naturally. Clear boundaries protect focus as well. Emotional overload distracts the mind. When relationships are orderly, mental space opens up. You become more present, attentive, and calm. Instead of feeling pulled in many directions, you feel grounded. Creating healthier relationships through boundaries is an act of self-respect. It allows you to show up fully without exhaustion. Over time, relationships become more balanced and meaningful. Emotional order strengthens connection instead of weakening it. When boundaries are clear, relationships feel lighter, communication improves, respect deepens, and your emotional energy is preserved for what truly matters. In that clarity, both you and the people around you can thrive. Chapter 12. Restore order after disruption. Without self-criticism, disruption is not a failure, it is part of life. No system, routine, or plan survives unchanged forever. Illness, unexpected responsibilities, emotional stress, and sudden change will interrupt even the most organized life. The problem is not the disruption itself. The problem is how you respond to it. Many people abandon order entirely after one setback, not because they can't continue, but because they judge themselves too harshly. Self-criticism turns temporary disorder into lasting chaos. When you fall off track and respond with frustration or guilt, motivation disappears. You tell yourself you've ruined your progress, so you stop trying. In reality, progress is rarely linear. It moves forward, pauses, and sometimes steps back. Organization must be flexible enough to survive those moments. Restoring order begins with acceptance. Something disrupted your rhythm, and that is okay. You do not need to explain it away or punish yourself for it. Calm acknowledgement creates space for recovery. The faster you accept reality, the faster you regain clarity. Resistance only adds emotional weight to an already challenging situation. One of the most effective ways to restore order is to restart small. You don't rebuild everything at once. You choose one simple action that reintroduces structure. Clear one surface, review one list, re-establish one habit. Small resets restore momentum without overwhelming you. Order returns gradually, not dramatically. It is also important to lower expectations after disruption. Trying to immediately return to peak performance creates pressure. Pressure leads to avoidance. Give yourself permission to operate at a reduced level while rebuilding. Stability matters more than speed. When you respect your current capacity, recovery becomes smoother. Disruptions often reveal which systems are fragile. Instead of seeing this as a problem, see it as information. Adjust systems so they are easier to return to. Simpler routines recover faster. Flexible structures bend instead of breaking. Each disruption becomes a lesson that strengthens your foundation. Self-compassion is a practical tool, not an emotional luxury. When you treat yourself with patience, you think more clearly, you make better decisions, you regain control sooner. Harsh self-talk may feel motivating, but it usually leads to exhaustion and resistance. Calm encouragement keeps you moving. Restoring order also means letting go of perfection. You don't need everything to be ideal before moving forward. Order does not require flawless execution. It requires direction. When you aim for stability instead of perfection, progress resumes naturally. Life will disrupt you again. That is certain. What changes is your response. When you learn to restore order calmly, setbacks lose their power. They become pauses, not endings. And with each recovery, your confidence grows. You learn that no matter what happens, you can always return to clarity, structure, and calm. Chapter 13. Reduce what you carry so life feels lighter. Life becomes heavy when you carry too much. Not just in your hands, but in your mind, your space, and your commitments. Excess quietly demands attention. Every extra object, obligation, or unresolved issue pulls on your energy. Over time, this weight becomes normal. and you forget how light life can feel. Organization is not only about arranging things, it is about deciding what no longer deserves to be carried. Carrying less begins with awareness. Notice what drains you without giving value in return. This might be physical items you rarely use, habits that no longer serve you, or responsibilities you accepted out of obligation rather than intention. Excess often accumulates slowly, without conscious choice. Letting go is the act of choosing again. Reducing what you carry is not about minimalism as an identity or extreme simplicity. It is about alignment. You keep what supports your current life and release what belongs to the past or an imagined future. When you hold on to everything, your attention gets divided. When you choose deliberately, clarity returns. Mental weight is often heavier than physical weight. Unfinished decisions, lingering worries, and unspoken expectations occupy space in your mind. Letting go may mean making a decision, having a conversation, or accepting that something is complete. Closure is a form of organization. It frees energy that has been stuck in loops of thought. There is also emotional weight. Guilt, resentment, and unnecessary responsibility add invisible pressure. You may carry feelings that are not yours to hold. Reducing emotional load means acknowledging what you can influence and releasing what you cannot. This boundary creates calm and restores focus. As you reduce excess, you may notice resistance. Letting go can feel uncomfortable because excess feels familiar. Even when something is draining, it can feel safer to keep it than to face change. But lightness comes from trust. Trust that you don't need everything to be okay. Trust that space will not leave you empty, but free. Life feels lighter when movement becomes easier. When you carry less, decisions are quicker. Focus is sharper. Energy lasts longer. You stop managing clutter and start experiencing flow. This simplicity does not reduce ambition. It supports it. With fewer distractions, what matters receives more attention. Reducing what you carry is an ongoing practice. Life adds weight naturally. Organization requires regular release. This rhythm keeps life balanced. You don't wait until overwhelm forces you to let go. You choose lightness intentionally. When you carry less, you move with ease. You respond instead of react. Calm becomes natural, and in that lighter state, productivity, clarity, and peace begin to work together effortlessly. Chapter 14. Turn organization into a lifestyle, not a one-time fix. Many people approach organization as a project. They clean, plan, reset, and promise themselves this time will be different. For a while, things improve. Then, life gets busy, routines slip, and disorder returns. The problem is not effort, it is approach. Organization fails when it is treated as an event instead of a way of living. A lifestyle is something you return to naturally. It does not depend on perfect conditions or high motivation. It is supported by identity. When organization becomes part of how you see yourself, maintaining order feels normal instead of exhausting. You are no longer forcing behavior. You are expressing who you are. This shift begins by letting go of the idea that everything must stay perfect. Order is dynamic. It changes with seasons, responsibilities, and energy levels. A lifestyle of organization adapts instead of breaking. When routines slip, you reset without drama. When systems stop working, you adjust them calmly. Consistency matters more than intensity. Small maintenance habits prevent large cleanups. A few minutes of order each day keeps chaos from building. These moments may feel insignificant, but they are the foundation of a sustainable system. Organization lives in repetition, not in grand resets. A lifestyle of organization also values simplicity. Complex systems demand constant attention. Simple systems survive pressure. When life becomes hectic, you fall back on what is easy. That is why simplicity is not laziness. It is wisdom. The best systems are the ones you keep using. Identity plays a powerful role here. When you see yourself as someone who values order, you naturally make choices that support it. You don't wait until things feel overwhelming. You notice early signs of disorder and respond gently. This awareness keeps life balanced without constant effort. Organization as a lifestyle also requires patience. Change happens gradually. You build trust with yourself over time. Each small follow-through strengthens confidence. Missed days do not erase progress. Returning calmly is more important than never slipping. When organization becomes a lifestyle, calm becomes familiar. You are less reactive. You move through days with clarity. Life still brings challenges, but they no longer throw everything off balance. Structure supports you quietly in the background. Order is not something you achieve once. It is something you live. And when you live it consistently, organization stops feeling like work. It becomes the steady rhythm that holds your life together, even when everything else is changing. Chapter 15. Choose order daily, and let calm become your default. Calm is not something you wait for after life becomes easier. It is something you create through the choices you make every day. Order is not a single decision or a final destination. It is a daily practice. When you choose order consistently, calm stops being an occasional relief and becomes the background of your life. Daily order begins with awareness. Each day presents small moments where you choose between clarity and chaos. You choose whether to leave things unfinished or complete them, whether to decide or delay, whether to simplify or accumulate. These choices may seem minor, but together they shape how your life feels. Calm becomes your default when order is woven into routine. You no longer rely on bursts of motivation to stay organized. You rely on habits, systems, and standards you've already chosen. This removes pressure. You stop asking yourself how to feel calm and start living in a way that supports it naturally. Choosing order daily also means accepting imperfection. Some days will be messy. Some plans will fall apart. Order does not mean control over life. It means control over response. When disruptions happen, you return to structure calmly instead of reacting emotionally. This ability builds confidence and emotional stability. As order becomes habitual, stress loses intensity. Problems still arise, but they feel manageable. Your mind stays clearer because fewer things are left unresolved. You move forward steadily, not frantically. Life feels more spacious, even when responsibilities remain. Daily order strengthens trust in yourself. Each small follow-through reinforces the belief that you can rely on your own systems. This trust reduces anxiety. You know that even if something slips, you have a way to recover. Calm comes from knowing you are capable, not from avoiding difficulty. Choosing order also influences how you show up for others. When your life is structured, you listen better, you respond thoughtfully, you are present without distraction. Calm is no longer something you protect aggressively. It flows naturally into relationships and work. Over time, order shapes identity. You become someone who lives intentionally, someone who values clarity over noise, someone who moves through life with quiet confidence. This identity does not require perfection, it requires consistency. When calm becomes your default, life feels different. You are less reactive, more grounded, and more focused on what truly matters. You don't chase peace, you create it through daily choices. And with each intentional step, order stops being something you manage and becomes the way you live. Conclusion. A calm, productive life is not built through sudden change or perfect discipline. It is built through simple decisions, repeated with intention. Throughout this audiobook, you have seen that organization is not about control, restriction, or rigid structure. It is about creating clarity where confusion once lived, ease where effort once dominated, and peace where stress once ruled. Order is an act of self-respect. It says that your time matters, your energy matters, and your attention matters. When you organize your life, you are not trying to become someone else. You are removing what distracts you from being fully yourself. You are choosing to live with intention instead of reaction. You now understand that organization begins internally. A clear mind leads to a clear space. Clear priorities lead to calm decisions. Simple systems replace constant effort. Small habits create stability. Boundaries protect focus. Lightness returns when excess is released. None of these principles require perfection. They require awareness and consistency. Life will continue to change. Responsibilities will shift. Routines will break. Unexpected seasons will arrive. This is not a failure of organization. It is a reminder that organization must be flexible. The goal is not to maintain order flawlessly, but to return to it calmly. The ability to reset without self-criticism is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. As you move forward, remember that organization is a lifestyle, not a finish line. You don't organize once and move on. You choose order daily, gently and deliberately. Some days that choice will feel easy. Other days it will feel subtle. Both count. Progress is built quietly. Calm does not come from having less to do. It comes from knowing what matters. Productivity does not come from rushing. It comes from alignment. When your life has structure, your mind can rest. When your systems are simple, your energy is preserved. When your environment supports you, discipline feels lighter. You do not need to change everything at once. Begin where you are. Adjust one habit. Simplify one system. Release one unnecessary burden. Order grows through small actions taken consistently. Over time, those actions reshape how life feels. As this audiobook comes to a close, carry one truth with you. Peace is not found by escaping responsibility, but by organizing it. When you design your life with care, calm becomes natural. You stop chasing balance and start living it. Choose order daily. Let simplicity guide you. Allow calm to become your default. And remember, an organized life is not a restrictive one, it is a free one.